Okay, I now have a new microphone. I am no longer making these videos out of a tin can on my phone, so I'm very much looking forward to my videos from here on in, and I hope it's improved for everyone else out there as well. Now, this person sent me their palms. They are 45. They want to know about their old age, their health, and their finances. Now we have here a water hand. I don't get too many of these come through. I find these fascinating just because they're so creative, sensitive, emotional, and intelligent. The common features of water hands is to have that's not a very wide line, a disconnected life and headline. You see the gap here, and this is known as the mark of the tiger in Indian palmistry. And it's more commonly seen in water hands, and it's always a sign of someone who is they kind of act before they think, and it could be in terms of how they give quite generously, as I say, because water hands are very empathetic, sympathetic, sensitive, caring, emotional people, but they're also very intelligent and often very intuitive and creative people as well. And so, this can be sometimes impatience. It can be, generally speaking, if I had to summarize, it's a sort of a disconnect between the mental processes and the environment. So their thought process is not connected completely with their environment. It's also associated with people who think quite radically. Their mind is so sort of disconnected from their environment that they're able to conjure up and think of ideas that most people are outside of the sort of conventions. And you often see this on the hands of people who radicalize, pioneers, great thinkers have this sign, but the downside is they can often be very sort of impatient and, as I say, act before thinking. Interesting that we don't see it so much on the left hand. At least there's a narrower gap there, and so there seems to have been some sort of shift or a change there, or perhaps this person's parents were both very different people. I'm inclined to think that their ambitions. Look at the headline here; it's so high up on there on Jupiter. It's making me think this person. Trying to think through now, reading as I go, what this person does. There's vast differences on the left and right hand, especially in terms of what this person does for a living. As you can see on the left hand, their career line, it's very different. It's not nearly as strong. It doesn't quite come in from the same place as Luna. This person has carved a career for themselves in, I would think, it's certainly a place where they are relying and depending on other people to make their living. So I imagine they're self-employed. They might well have a career that is in some sort of creative field. I think they're self-employed. The headline here on the left hand reaches upwards into outer Mars, and that's always a sign that this person is seeking financial security at this time. And the headline itself is very long on the right hand. It reaches all the way across the other side of the palm, and this is always a sign of someone who's quite obsessive. It also shows someone who the ideas, the decisions, the thoughts of this person affect the lives of many, have a direct impact on the lives of many people. The headline as well also forks. You've got the inner line there that reaches right down into a lower depth of imagination, lunar there, where most people aren't really able to access this sort of area, this deep expanse of their imagination. This, in particular, the sort of lower level of lunar. And on the left, the headline also forks as well, and the fork of the headline, this larger fork here, is always seen in the hands of writers, actors, lawyers, psychologists sometimes as well. It allows us to see people's perspectives. It allows us to see life through other people's eyes, to step inside someone else's shoes. It allows us to see from more than one perspective. And it's always a good sign of diplomacy skills as well because of this. And sometimes it can also mean a little bit of indecision as well, because we can see every side. We're not really sure which side of the fence to sit on in certain arguments, and sometimes some people can accuse people with the writer's fork to just to be sitting on the fence and to be indecisive, which they often are. So that's the sort of downside. Also, in terms of accessing the truth, it can be difficult for people with a writer's fork, because they sometimes are unaware that they have spoken a mistruth, because the mind can sort of access more than one truth at the same time, if that makes sense. It's really hard to explain, but this is why I even read this actually, all writers are liars. I'm pretty sure that's a quote, and that would make sense. You know, the writer's fork does have some bearing on people accidentally lying, so it's a weird one. So there's always a pro and a con, but this is a large writer's fork, and being that this person has carved themselves a career out of something that's potentially creative, relying on other people, as I've said, this is someone who is likely self-employed as well. All of the signs here for me are pointing towards this person being a writer of some sorts. I'm pretty sure they're a writer. So it'd be interesting to see if I get any feedback about that one. The other sign that I'm noticing here that's very interesting and very unique are these lines here that are appearing. You don't see it so much on the little fingers, all across the middle phalanges of the fingers. It's more, it's stronger on Jupiter, and it gets a little bit weaker as it works its way, but it's on every single finger. Now, the last time I saw this sign, it was on the palms of a man I worked with, and it was a real riddle for me. And I spoke to Terry about this. I even sent Terry his palms, and Terry said, you'll figure it out, you always do. And I did, but in order to find out the kind of complex, get to the bottom of the more complex mysteries, you sometimes have to ask a few questions first. And for me, this was, and is for this person as well, I think the same thing. Remember, and maybe if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know that the middle phalanges of the fingers are related to a person's mind, their head, sometimes even their throat, ears, eyes, nose, mouth. Physically speaking, this is connected to this entire region of the body. And being that it was all across the board, as it is for this person as well, I felt like this was more than just a singular specific obstacle in any one area of their kind of mental health or anything like that. I thought this was, and I do think the same thing for this person as well, something physical. And when I saw it on this other person, I kind of questioned as to, was there any head injury when they were young, any kind of, irregular sort of brain dysfunction or, diagnosis that's quite sort of unique to do with the head, the throat, the nose, anything like that, going through all these things. No, nothing. And as I was talking to him, I noticed a scar on his temple. And I was going to ask, but before I could, he said, well, when I was born, I was 11 pounds. And they used forceps to make the birth happen. They used forceps on his head, and so he literally had scars either side of his head. The shape of his skull was affected. And that's what I believe has happened here. I believe this person has had forceps used on them during birth, and that's what's caused these scars here. Now, when I talk about water hands, I often say sensitive and emotional, creative and intelligent, and one of the tendencies for water hands is to fall into depression. That's often seen with a headline that is so able to access the imagination and potentially unrealistic thoughts. all of these things kind of sound a bit negative, and they provide an image, they paint a picture of a person who's quite sort of weak and unstable. And I just want to get something clear here, clear something up. This is a very well-rounded and stable individual. So I've got no concerns really in terms of mental health, although there was an I don't want to say issue, that kind of minimises things. I believe this was divorce at the age of 34 for this person. It affected them far more emotionally than it did physically, practically, materialistically, but it really crippled this person and their ability to continue work in the same way that they still did. But, you know, as you would imagine, like divorce it's one of those things that's just, I mean, I've never been through it, but it's so obviously crippling and affects every single area of a person's life, which is why it comes in from it's close to Venus, but it's also upper Mars. It comes in from this place of familiarity, drive and motivation, and love and relationships and family. It comes in from a place that's close to home, comes in from the family ring, crosses the lifeline, crosses the career, the headline and the heartline, and even affects this person's finances as well, and their ability to make decisions even on an instinctive level. You know, it even, you know, crosses the Mercury line as well. So it's affected their health as well. It's affected all areas of this person's life. But this was, I think, probably kept quite sort of quiet, because there's just no need to sort of air this dirty laundry. I mean, obviously everyone, or a lot of people would have known about this, but it's not as prominent on the right hand, and that shows that this was more of an internal affair, probably quite literally. So that's what I believe that is, and you can see there's a need to sort of protect the career around this time. And so I believe this person is, in a way, 45 they are now, they're still actually going through, even though this was some time ago for this person, they're still going through the aftermath, the after effects, the aftershock of this divorce. One of the other common features about a water hand I quite often see are back issues. Water hands are very prone to back issues, back problems. They can tend to have a kind of a weaker lower back, and the fate line often acts as a measure of back health in palmistry. Other signs will indicate that in a water hand, I think you have to pay special attention to the fate line in terms of back health, spinal health. And here, you know, you can see this is your kind of bog standard fate line, if you like. But a water hand, instead of that, will quite often have a fate line that's sort of quite jarred, quite, you know, overlapping. Sometimes you'll even see a little bit of an S-bend going on, something like that. These are all signs of potential spinal issues, and sometimes it's a sign of an injury, or, you know, a car crash, something like that that's happened, a sporting accident. Other times it's just old age, wear and tear, arthritis, you know, something else that's going on, an operation, spina bifida, slip discs, weakened sacroiliac joints, that sort of thing. So remember, the left hand is internal, it's how we're affected emotionally on a more sort of secretive level, and the right hand shows us how we're affected more externally. So when we see a career line that's kind of a bit more disjointed, not as connected, not as free-flowing, this could be an indication of spinal health problems. This person wants to know about their health, and I would say that there's a potential thyroid issue going on there. You can just about see 3 lines. Yeah, you can see it if you look up close. 3 lines on the left as well, and this is always a sign of thyroid issues, and I believe this is partly age, but some of the effects of this can be managed really quite well with selenium, omega-3, and reducing the use of aluminium products with cooking utensils, and getting yourself a water filter as well. Thyroid issues are quite often seen with people who wear lots of rings, because it's a side effect of allergies to sort of metals. Metals in the blood are always seen by a widening of the heart line, particularly around here, when you see the heart line kind of make a sort of this kind of sign here, almost like it's a sister line, then you'll notice potential signs of thyroid issues. I'm not too concerned here. I don't really see metals in the blood, so I don't think that's the reason for this thyroid issue. I think this is just a natural kind of development, but selenium and omega-3 oils can help with that. Certainly going to help this person, selenium, with this feeling of anxiety that they might be feeling at times as well. There's quite a lot of exhaustion going on here with these lots of upward strokes here, and on the second phalanges. And if this continues, if this person begins to start seeing them spreading up onto, I can see a couple there already. This is a sign of overwork and adrenal burnout, fatigue. So I recommend this person needs to know when to take a break. I also highly recommend theanine and lemon balm for anxiety and sleep, if this is an issue at all. Obviously, I'm no doctor, so please consult one before taking anything, but I've seen this work. It's a great effect. So this is about the age they are now. Pretty soon they're going to start making improvements in their life due to an influence that stems from home, their family. There's a family influence here that creates a reason to make some sort of improvements. We can see it here as well. This is more of an internal issue. This is more of an emotional response here. I'm actually wondering if this is a grandchild appearing on the scene. It's a good sign anyway. The thing about this person's career here is that on the left hand we've got this wonderful fork that seems to develop in the career line, and as it does, one is sort of more leaning towards the creative arts, an area of talents and reputation, whereas the other, which is more around hard work and graft, is a much stronger line. So this suggests two potential job roles at the same time. Perhaps one is writing in their spare time, whereas this is their day job. In any case, both look good. In particular, the day job looks pretty good here as well, and I think there will be a long and healthy working career with a nice little pension waiting for them at the end of it, because we've got here some sort of what I would describe as an inheritance line. And you can see on the right hand here just how strong this career comes into fruition. It's not, when you compare it with the strength of this with other lines, it's very bold. Look at it. It's very strong. Nothing's stopping this. So for this person, particularly after the age of 53, money begins to look pretty good. Career looks pretty good. The fact that the sun line is stronger on the left hand than on the right indicates that this person is in fact making good money and will make good money, but they're perhaps spending more money. They're spending it just as quickly as they're making it, and this suggests this person has family obligations, and as I say, this might well be a grandchild on the way. So this sort of siphoning of finances may well continue for a little while, but it's for the greater good. This person is loyal and devoted to their family, which was why this divorce that took place, likely due to an affair, was so crushing, because this person would just never do this to anyone else. They are a bit of a spender. We've got this tapering thumb here. This is a person of expensive tastes, and this might be one of the reasons why, again, we have not such a strong sun line at the moment on the right hand. There does appear to be a desire to move, it seems. I think there's a feeling that they've always kind of wanted to move abroad, perhaps, and this ideal job role has perhaps always sort of been in line with that. That's fallen into that kind of dream, hand in hand with that. And they will move, but it won't be until they're about 56. I think it's kind of a long distance move, which is a nice sign. It's a positive sign. So I think all in all, this person has a few things to their affairs to get in order, and I think they want to make sure that their family are safe and secure before they really look out for themselves and enjoy their retirement. The right hand headline, it appears to look as though this person is looking to build a sort of financial security up until a certain age, and then, if I'm not doing a good example of this, but you can see the headline changes course, and it looks towards more of an area, as I have said, Luna is this place of travel and the outside world and putting yourself out there, but it's also, I suppose, looking further afield and exploring. And a headline that would end here would suggest someone focused on a very sort of creative area, focused on their talents in order to make a career. They're probably quite financially orientated, a numbers person. But a headline that's sort of kind of stopping down here on the ulnar side of the palm, percussion, sorry, always get those two confused. On the lunar mount here, it's right on the edge of the palm. This shows someone who's thinking about the bigger picture. They're thinking further ahead, they're thinking about the future, but not in terms of money. So I'm starting to think this person is already making good money. I don't think they're actually concerned about money. They're thinking about the future, and that actually makes sense because of the questions that they've asked. They're thinking about old age and health, and finances is always on their mind, but actually this is not so much a worry. I mean, they might well just be spending too much, really. That might be as a result of not being able to retain that money. So I do see travel, as I say, at around about the age of 56. In terms of old age, look at this. I've already said, I mean, it's just a superb fate line, and it's just, you don't get much better than this. The end of the life is not really, the end of the lifeline is not really relevant in terms of judging the end of a person's life, because the length of a lifeline does not have any bearing on the length of a person's life, in almost every single case anyway. In palmistry, things work to scale, so as we get older, the lines actually, this event here might move up the palm slightly. Everything kind of squashes and it works to scale. So this is why it's not really possible to look at the end of someone's lifeline and say, well, this is how things are going to go. And most of the time, things change anyway. So, in 5 years' time, the lines on this person's hand are going to change just so much that there isn't really any point in talking too far ahead. And that's why I never really do. This person for me is certainly a highly creative individual. I mean, this is an explorative, imaginative individual. This is someone who's willing to explore and travel expanses of their imagination, their creative depths, to levels that most aren't willing to put themselves through. That might sound a bit odd or extreme, but just look at how well developed. This is almost a spatulate Apollo, and you see it on the right hand, not so much on the left. The same with Saturn as well. Their path, their destiny, what they want to do is, they're working so hard to do it, and they've got an excellent sense of right and wrong, the sense of conscience. And that strong sense of idealism is always seen in a person who has their heartline ending or forking up onto Jupiter, this place of judgment and authority. The tip of Mercury is also sort of stronger, it's stronger on the right hand, especially the tip. So this shows this person has developed their ability to communicate their message, their truth. And again, I believe that coincides with, our careers sometimes shape our talents and our skills. They, in a way, kind of make us who we are, as well as us carving our own careers. So I believe this person is a writer. So that's, I think, about everything. Let me know what your thoughts are on this reading, and the sound quality. I don't know if you've been watching the last couple of my videos, but they've not been great sound-wise. And I hope this has all made sense. I hope I've answered all the questions here. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.